This is the biggest hack secret that took me years to learn in sports cards that nobody knows about. So have you ever bought a sports card and the person is playing well, but it doesn't go up in value, and you invested in this player and they're averaging 30 points a game, they're gonna make the playoffs, they're the third seed, and it just doesn't go up in value? Have you ever asked yourself that? And you can't sell it, you can't move it and you just don't know why. Well, I'm gonna explain to you in this video why the card doesn't go up in value and the biggest mistake people make in sports cards. So let's start with this. So the average person who buys and sells sports cards thinks of a sports player like a stock, right? And it makes sense, right? You buy a player, you hope he plays well, and if he plays well, he goes up in value, just like a company, right? You could buy a stock of a company, if they have a good fiscal year and they make really good money, stock's gonna go up, or if they invent a new product. But that's not exactly how sports cards works. It does and it doesn't, and I'll explain it to you. So now you have to think of something: supply and demand. Okay, this is very important. So now, one of the biggest things people do is they'll buy a guy who they know is going to win Rookie of the Year, or they know who's going to win MVP, and they'll wait for him to win MVP, and then they'll go and sell the cards. It makes perfect sense, right? His value is going to go up once he wins MVP. But what people do not realize is that that is already factored into his price. Let me give you an example. So this year, Aaron Judge won the MVP, and it was announced on November 17th that he was the AL MVP. Now, his prices went from $500-600 to $2,000 for his PSA 10 base Bowman Chrome, okay, during the season. It quadrupled in value because he had an amazing season and it deserved to go up 4 times, right? He was incredible. But everybody knows he's gonna win MVP, right? It was very obvious. He was the front runner and that's it. Everyone knew. So because of that, it's factored into his price. So just because they announce, oh, you're the MVP, his price doesn't go up. And then on top of that, you have to think about supply and demand. So when Aaron Judge won the MVP, what does everybody do? They go to Facebook, they go to Instagram, they go to Twitter, they go to eBay, and they start trying to sell their Aaron Judge cards. Now, because there's such a huge supply of these Aaron Judge cards, his value doesn't go up, because when there's a massive supply, the demand falls. When the demand falls, prices go down. So a lot of times, a player's value's price will actually go down after they win a big award. It's really remarkable, and it doesn't make any sense, but it does when I'm explaining, and hopefully it makes sense to you. Like, let's take these Aaron Judge cards, for example. October 23rd, towards the end of the MLB season, his PSA 10 base was a little over $2,000, okay? After he was announced on November 17th that he won MVP, December 3rd was the next sale of a card. It sold for $1,691, okay? So it was selling for a little above $2,000 and it dropped down to $1,691. Part of the reason is because the market was flooded with Aaron Judge cards. When that happens, the prices are naturally going to go down. It's like when Patrick Mahomes just won the Super Bowl. Everyone's listing Patrick Mahomes cards. They're not going to go up that much in value because no one wants to pay top dollar, okay? And let's think of another example. This is even a more in-depth example. So let's take a player and him playing well during the season, right? Let's take Luka Doncic during this basketball season. He's having a really good year. He's like probably one of the best players in the league. They traded for Kyrie Irving. Everything you think of and logically thinking would say his value would go up a lot because he's having such a good year. And his value has not went up at all. Before the season, his Prism Silver PSA 10 was selling for about $1,900 to $2,000. Today in February, when I'm filming this, it's still about $2,000, a little bit under. Why didn't his value go up? I'll explain. So when a season begins, the market is at its absolute hype, okay? This is a hype-driven market. Sports cards, a lot of hype-driven. So right before the season starts, like the day before, people are excited, players are about to play, these games are about to be on TV, and the market is at its highest. The minute the ball tips off for the first game, the basketball market starts to go like this, okay? It starts to go downwards. Now, when it starts going downwards, if a player's playing well and they're going upwards, it's just gonna break even, right? Let me give you like a numbers example. Let's say the market is going down at a rate of 20 miles an hour. Luka Doncic is playing well at a rate of 20 miles an hour. Because these two forces are like going the same exact speed, but just in different directions, it's a break even, okay? That's why Luka Doncic's value does not go up. Players do go up in value, right, if they play well, but usually it's a person that people really didn't think of, and it's more of what I call like a penny stock, like someone more volatile, okay? So like, let's take football, for example. Like the only quarterback whose value significantly went up during the season was Jalen Hurts. His value about tripled because Jalen Hurts is what I like to call a penny stock. Low value, people really didn't think of him as this elite quarterback. The minute he started winning a lot of games and started playing really well, his value went up a ton. Now, every other quarterback during the NFL season, their value did not go up, even if they played well, because the football market's going down. So you're fighting this uphill battle, okay? So it's almost impossible to really make money trying to guess if a player's going to play well or not, because markets go down the minute a season begins, okay? It's just how the sports card market works, because there's so much hype leading up to it. It happens in every sport. Football, it's at its peak in August, when it kicks off, it starts to go down. Basketball's at its peak in October, and then it begins to go down. Baseball's at its peak during spring training, February, March, and then people come to the realization that, oh my God, the player I invested in is not the next Babe Ruth or Mike Trout, and the values start going down. It's just how the sports card market works, and hopefully what I'm saying is making sense. Now, you're probably asking yourself, then how do I make money? How do I properly invest in players? So what I have done, and that has worked extremely well for me, is buying at its lowest point and selling at its highest point, right? I just got done saying that the highest point in a market is right before the season begins. So let's take football, for example. Right before the season begins is late August, right? Football season starts early September. So that's when you want to be selling. Now, when do you want to be buying? You want to be buying at the low point, right? March, April. No one really cares about football. You know, people are talking about the draft, but that's really it. And that's when you want to be buying football, at the absolute lowest point and selling at the highest point. You don't want to be stuck in that guessing game if a player is going to play well or not, because a lot of the time, even if they play well, their values don't go up, and it's very, very frustrating. And the best way to think about this, kind of how I like to think about sports cards and just investing in general, right, is the famous Warren Buffett quote, right? Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. That's how I live. That's how I think of life, and that's how I think of my money, right? You want to be buying when people are fearful, when no one wants to buy these players because they're in the dumps. So you want to be buying in the dead of the offseason. You want to be buying baseball November, December, when no one's talking about it. You want to be fearful when others are greedy, right? So you want to be fearful. You want to be selling these cards when others are greedy right before the season's about to begin. Hype, yada, yada, yada. So hopefully that makes sense, right? Fearful when others are greedy. So you want to be selling when others are greedy, and you want to be greedy when others are fearful. You want to be buying when everyone's like, oh my God, I don't want to touch that stuff, right? That's how to buy at the low point and sell at the high point. Now, one more thing I will mention before I end this video is sports cards and these players are no different than stocks, okay? Luka Doncic, LeBron James, these guys are like blue chip stocks, okay? What does a blue chip stock mean? It just means it's a large corporation. They've been around a long time, and their values don't fluctuate that much, right? If Disney has a good year, their stock price didn't go up about 1% to 2% because there's not that much excitement around it. Like, everyone knows what you're getting out of Disney. Everyone knows what you're getting out of a large corporation like that. Same thing with players, right? Like Luka Doncic, I just got done talking about how his value didn't go up that much. Part of the reason is because he's a blue chip stock. Everybody knows he's great, right? Everyone knows it, and there's not that much excitement. Now, take a penny stock, right? If those of you guys that have seen Wolf on Wall Street, a penny stock is a relatively unknown company that's small, and their stocks don't sell for a lot, but if they do something significant, it goes through the roof. And for the same thing, it can go down very quickly. So like, that's where you want to be buying these players. You want to be buying these penny stocks, these volatile players in the off season, and selling them when the hype starts to go up in February, March, before baseball or right before such season begins. So hopefully that makes sense. And what I said, I know I just threw a lot of information at you guys, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more cool sports card stuff and business stuff like this, I'm going to put a video down below this. If you like this, you'll definitely like the next video. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe for more. I'm always dropping as much powerful free knowledge as I possibly can, and I'll see you guys in the next video.